I succumbed. I'm sorry, I succumbed. But it made total sense. I had to do it. Season of Discovery, second session, getting in there. Big goal of the day was, of course, to really power level through. There's so many people who are already level 40, and I think I have to adjust things when we're doing a big launch. They always launch these things very late on like a Thursday, and it's ideal for Blizzard because obviously that means people get to play over the weekend. For me, the weekends are very tied up, but I think for big launches we need to be there because I do feel very behind, although there's definitely people still enjoying and drinking in Season of Discovery. But I would say more than anything, as feedback to Blizzard, Season of Discovery Season 2 has really highlighted, I feel in a lot of people's eyes, is that the classic element of it is the weakest element. What people really want is the new runes, new abilities, new things, new raids, that kind of thing. And I would really recommend for, because it's only going to get worse, is that when they do 40 to 50 and 50 to 60, which are going to be much longer periods of time, we're talking about leveling here, obviously, is that they squash that down and throw some resources at this, at making new raids and stuff, and new dungeons, something like that with some twists and turns in there. Because for a lot of people, and I'm seeing this kind of widespread, is that a lot of people got started like they did in Season 1, and Season 1 started really strong because you started discovering new runes in the level 1 to 5 areas. So you're very quickly getting the Season of Discovery feel. That's already changed, and it's not really Blizzard's fault. That's the interesting thing. It's the... I mean, it is a little bit, because the World of Warcraft culture that we talked about in the previous Season of Discovery is very focused on acquisition and gain of power. That's the way the game works. It's a power fantasy for the most part, and so people are min-maxing the hell out of it. I think you roll into it. I don't think you try and change it, try and forcibly change it. I think you lean into it and be like, okay, this is what our players are going to do, and what they want to do is get really good gear, they want to do the raids, they want to put teams together, they want to do all that kind of stuff, and therefore the meta is already there, which is to ignore everything as much as humanly possible. That's like the classic element. When I went to Scarlet Monastery, we did a bit of dungeon grinding this day. And this is kind of the crux of the conversation here. When I went to Scarlet Monastery, there were hundreds of people there. They're all doing it. Like that, like out in the open world, there's definitely some people out there. Like, and a lot of people are even worse. Those people like myself who were like, I don't really like dungeon grinding. Although I will say I had great fun doing it. I'm reporting that, simply put, there's just not enough mobs out in the open world. And therefore, dungeon grinding is just makes way more sense because I'm losing hours of my life waiting for, like, tigers to spawn. Like, STV, reports were coming in at STV was just zerged. Stranglethorn Vale is just absolutely overloaded with people. And you can stand around waiting for mobs for 5 or 10 minutes to do a very simple quest. And it's just, it's beyond inefficient. It's pointless, right? It's just a pointless experience. We're not gaining any experience. I'm just kind of stood around for a long time. And I know a lot of people are like, yeah, but dungeon grinding sucks. I agree. But at that point, people are like, well, it's not that I want to do it, but I can't do the thing I want to do. And that's the difference. So either massively up the spawn rate, or just boost the XP gains so that people are out of there faster. Even cut some of the quests in half, right? Something along those lines. Cut the quests in half and double the XP. So you still get that questing experience, but you get done twice as quickly. And therefore you just move on faster and get going, because that's what people want to do. And certainly even I've felt it as somebody who's less affected, I would say, by seeing other people in the open world and what they have, because I don't really care. It's classic. What does it matter? Seeing everybody already running around on mounts a day or so after it comes out because they went in dungeon grind just makes you go, wow, I'm really far behind. When you aren't, you're 10 classic levels behind. It's nothing, right? It's really nothing at all. And it's low-level classic levels as well. It's the 30s to 40s. It's nothing. But by the by, something I'd really recommend for Season 2, and I might do a main channel video on this as well, to discuss, I think, my thoughts on it anyway. So anyway, I got started to finish off the Shimmering Flats. This was kind of fun. This was out there. But as I pointed out in our previous video, we are now hitting the point where being Alliance, which was very interesting for me from, say, 1 to 30, has ended. Because now we're in the Horde area. And the mixed areas. Horde and Alliance level here, and they basically have the same quests for the most part. There are definitely differences, but generally speaking, it's the same environment that's going on. So I was really looking, as I finished it up, as to where to go next. And at that point, it was time to get our first rune. Yeah, that's right. I haven't picked up my runes yet because I wanted to discover them out and about. So the riddles page did point that there was 1 in 1,000 needles. Specifically, it was in the Shimmering Flats. Off I went. This is where I got preyed on by the fact that I play so zoomed out. It's a mythic raid trait. It's not something I can really play without now. If I don't play really zoomed out, it feels like I'm playing an FPS. And I found the 3 statues, and I kind of got what was supposed to happen here. We had the Guardian, the Braggart, and the Slayer, and one of them is stood with like a single 2-hander, arms, and then another one stood with 2 1-handers, Fury, and the other one's got a sword and shield, defensive. I was like, oh, okay, so I kind of get what's going on here, and it wants taunts, it wants shield bashes, the Braggart should be interrupted or whatever. So it made sense as to what I was supposed to do here. And so I couldn't get it to work. And the reason is that there's a very tiny orb that spins around the trading dummy when you get it right, and I could not see it for crap. I'm like, am I getting a buff? There was a small sort of reward plateau on the floor, and I was like, I can't figure out what the hell. I was there for like 5 minutes. I was like, I don't get it. Like, I get what I'm supposed to do, I think, but it's just, I don't seem to be, they're not giving me a token to put into the wreath. They're not giving me a buff to say I've done it right. There's no dialogue going on. And in the end, it turned out there's a very tiny little orb that's spinning around, which I couldn't see for the life of me. But as soon as I spotted it, job done, on its way. My first rune was Intervene. Cool, bit more mobility, bit of help, but not going to change my gameplay much. Obviously, only usable in defensive stance. Really is there for saving people. I love Intervene, great spell. Not super exciting. So my first rune was like, okay. Not going to mess around with that. So then I thought, where should we go next? One thing I do like about the new runes is they seem to apply to different body armors, so you have just more abilities. Chef's Kiss, great touch bliss. I was like, I'll go to South Shore, because I've always done Hillsbrad as Horde, tons of stuff to do there, but South Shore, just mousing over with Questy, showed that there was a bunch of different things going on. So I was like, I'll go check that out, which is, of course, a big travel, but whatever, we're going to go up there. So I headed up to South Shore, got some nice questing done up there, actually, and actually got called, I don't even think I could say this word on YouTube, because it's considered so offensive, certainly in modern day, compared to when it was like the standard gamer word back in the day, but the R word, I legitimately got called that, and I was like, wow, we're back in World of Warcraft, baby. We are back in World of Warcraft. I was like, what the hell? Like, randomly, I was like, is this a stream sniper? Is it someone? No, this is somebody who genuinely believes was a mage. I didn't even see this mage. Was claiming ownership of a mob because they had begun casting on it somewhere from far away as a mage. And I was a warrior, so I just charged whatever was there and attacked it. Genuine, like, experience of being upset that that was my mob. I started casting. You are a horrible... I was like, wow, we're really back in World of Warcraft now. This is a dream come true. At this point, I once again stumbled on people in the sleeping bag, and I was like, maybe we go and get the sleeping bag. I think it's got to be worth it, because we are leveling without an experience buff. Perhaps this will also occur in Season 3 and Season 4, so maybe we should go and try the sleeping bag out. Bex had written a riddle for me, but I wasn't sure where she put it, so I did Google the guide for this thing. And I'm quite happy I did, because it was basically go here, go here. What another massive journey to go on. Now, we were having music day, so we were playing some nice music all day. We had a lot of Metallica and some old school 80s disco and all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of fun just to put auto run on, get jogging through the barrens, and on its way. I do want to say, this is the content I love to see in Season of Discovery, right? It's the extras. This is the different thing. This is the twist. But the best thing to come out of it wasn't the sleeping bag, because once again, Blizzard be Blizzard, it's a 2-hour buff with a 3-hour cooldown. I get that, like, you should try it with other people, we're promoting people, and it is funny when everyone's there. It's just one of those things like, yeah. There's always a twist. There's always some sort of twist. And I do understand the premise of it. It's like, we don't just want everybody to have their own and just maintain it. We want people to group up in towns, and people are doing that. So it does work. It's just one of those quirks. I was like, oh, God damn it. But the best thing to come out of it was actually the Munchables that just immediately give you rested XP. Perfect. This is what we're talking about with boosting the XP, because these were great. These were fantastic. 30-minute cooldown, gave you a bunch of rested XP, so your leveling went significantly quicker. And off the back of that, I was like, we should go and do some SM leveling. Let's see how good it is, right? I know it's got to be faster than what I've been doing, because, again, fighting for mobs, even with, like, 7 or 8 people in the area, is not good in Classic. Even with hyper spawns, it's just not enough. So I was like, let's go and try it. I had a group of people of kind of similar level, ranging from, I was 32 at the time, and I think we had 37s, a couple of 37s, a 33, so a real mix to head into SM Library. It then really reminded me, I genuinely haven't really experienced this for a long time, because my characters have always been kind of current level, is just how bad warriors are when they're a few levels below the enemy, because every single one of your hits either misses or is a glancing blow, and with the rage system that's in Classic, you get no rage, which means you can't do any abilities, and even when you do abilities, they parry, miss, dodge, whatever, and your overpowers don't crit, and all that kind of stuff. So the first couple of runs, for me, were brutal, especially compared to the 3 paladins. We had a prop paladin and 2 rep paladins, with Consecrate and Divine Storm spam, that just was wrecking the AoE, absolutely destroying it compared to me. And I was like, Jesus Christ, I feel like I'm being hard carried here. But very, very quickly, and this is where it turns around, you massive amounts of experience. Like, you just fly through levels. Like, within a couple of hours, I was 2.5 levels higher. I was like 34.5. I'm like, Jesus, right? I literally dinged 32 to start this run, and I was 34.5 after a couple of hours. And I was like, wow. Yeah, this is clearly the way. Like, there's no 2 ways about it. This is just so much more efficient, so much faster, and it is rewarding. And if you're with a good bunch of people who isn't like AFKing every run, it's so fast at every run because people are leveling up, which meant that, like, my warrior got stronger and stronger and stronger. You're getting loot. That's good for some people. Obviously, nothing in library for a warrior, but our casters were getting stronger. Our priest got stronger. They got illusory rod offhand, and then they were like, let's go to Graveheart. And then I got my next ability. I wasn't aware that they'd put scrolls of extra spells in. And I was like, oh, wow. Because I was like, what is this? Because I saw them dropping, and it was like the priest learns Fortitude. And somebody else learns this. And I'm like, wait a minute, is there a warrior one? And they're like, there is. It's in Graveyard. I was like, oh. I don't like Graveyard, so we skipped Graveyard. So I was like, do you guys fancy doing a run in Graveyard? And then I got a whisper from a warrior saying, it can drop from any SM boss. Because Blizzard obviously knew people were going to do Scarlet Monastery, so they put these in there. But we were already going to Graveyard, and it dropped on my first kill, and I got Commanding Shout, which I didn't read it at first, so I was like, oh wow, I have a really nice raid cooldown. They're like, no, read it again. And it's an actual buff that stacks with Power Word Fortitude. I believe it's replaced by Imps, but it's a massive amount of HP. Sick. New big buff, scales with level. Fantastic. That's a great addition. It's just another tool in the arsenal, right? I wish it didn't cost rage, but there you go. It is what it is, and it's fine to maintain. It's one of those classic things to maintain those buffs. So I was like, that's a cool little addition. A little bit stronger, a little bit more powerful, a little bit better off, and certainly in open world, very helpful. So I was like, oh, cool. Wonderful little addition to the game. At this point, some people had to swap out, where we brought in a rogue, John Rogue, from John Warcraft, and a warrior stepped in, and our pallies switched around, so one of them was tanking. And we decided to try Armory. I had just reached the level where I was actually kind of doing okay in... I was doing okay in Library. And I had picked up Sweeping Strikes. So I was actually, like, very much accelerating my damage, so we were clearing very efficiently. Then we went to Armory, which has, like, the end boss is level 40, Herod is level 40, and the mobs are average, like, 37 to 38. And I was like, oh, I'm back here again doing no damage. So it was very slow. And this is where the pure World of Warcraft mindset kicked in of, this is higher level, but it's also inefficient for our group. And so it's like XP per hour ratios start coming in. I was like, Jesus Christ, I can almost picture the, like, Island Expedition Weekorers. Of which way is more efficient and blah, 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 blah. So that was the scenario I was in there. I was like, this isn't efficient. But at our first kill, the Ravager dropped, and our warrior was 37. So I was like, pass, you take it. This is going to be so much better for our dungeon clearing. You get the Ravager. And he had no weapon skill in two-handed axes, but that didn't matter for the proc, because from then on, we went back to Library, spin to win, baby. The pure spin to win. Absolute spin to winners, and it was glorious because now warriors were like taking over paladins and shredding the place up, and it just made it so much more fun. We're playing You Spin Me Right Round as it's happening, just total disco moments of this happening, and I was like, I can't wait till both of us have one to clear this out. I can obviously go and get the Whirlwind Axe. I'm actually going to check the BIS list. I imagine pre-raid the Whirlwind Axe is BIS. I'd be surprised if it's not. They probably have put something in the raid that's better, but generally speaking. So as we finished up there, ding level 35 very, very quickly there as we came to the end of the day. And my game plan going forward is I kind of want the rest of the runes because I hope they're not all utility. That would be disappointing, because Intervene is more of a utility spell. So I want some gameplay changes. I did change the build up to Flagellation, which stopped me having this weird hold 80 rage all the time. That was very frustrating. But I need a new weapon. My weapon is absolute trash. It's a reward from Duskwood, a Duskwood quest line with an arcane proc, which barely seems to have a proc. So I want my damage. I never like being carried. You guys know that. But being lower level, it is what it is. So I'm hoping either the next day I think I go for the Whirlwind Axe, or I do the SM quest for the Bone Biter, and that'll suffice for now because the Whirlwind Axe is like a journey to go on up to 37 to get the Ravager. And then finish up, because 2 levels is going to happen really, really quick in order to move forward with that. And I think I kind of just want to push for the cap. Get the cap. I'm either going to do some runes first, or I'm going to just push for cap and then do runes. One thing for sure is I'm poor, so getting a mount at 40 immediately is not on the cards right now. I'm probably 70 gold short. I think you need 100 gold, and I've got 25 or something. So that's going to be a problem. So stay tuned for the money whatever my next plan is. We're going to endgame and we're going to the raid. That's what's going to happen. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.